Hello, friends. Greetings from the Lisbon airport. I've been walking around looking for the quietest corner I could find, but as it turns out, when you look at it from the perspective of recording an audio, there is no quiet place in an airport. So I am pulling the mic all the way to my face and I'm hoping for the best. There is a reason that I am making an effort to produce this today. Besides the frustration of having tried twice this week and failed, and also the fact that next week I'm gonna have a bunch of things occupying my attention, a bunch of people. The reason I wanted to bring you this audio today is because my daughter Iomi turning 18 and becoming an adult of sorts also means that my teaching practice is turning 18. The first yoga class I ever taught, it was in a gym in a shopping mall right outside Stockholm. And I remember having to explain to people in the class that I had to keep my phone on because I might be called anytime to go to the hospital to deliver my daughter, or at least to assist to the birth. I'm not good delivering babies. I failed that in school. So it will always be imprinted in my memory how long and when my yoga journey as a teacher began. And that is 18 years and a few days. So in one way or another, I should look at my vocation and reflect on its coming of age, I suppose I could call it. It's a funny story how I started teaching yoga. A story of failure, I suppose. I failed to become a football player, and I dropped out of college just before I was a fully accredited engineer. And that left me bouncing from job to job for a few years. I was unable to return to school. I had no real passion beyond playing football. And I did love to create beauty. I've always liked that. But I was not inclined per se to become an artist, I think. So I did a bunch of different jobs. The closest I got to flirt with the idea of a career was to work with video and photography. But at some point it became clear that what I wanted to do, or what I needed to do this life, was me. And what for some people becomes a sidebar in their lives, this inner search, inner introspection, figuring out who you are, healing your traumas, transcend your parents' legacy and make good use of their gifts. That somehow became the center of my life. So after a few years of bouncing around through these smaller tentative jobs, these shy attempts to figure out what my life was going to be, then I finally decided to put all my eggs in the yoga basket. I was confused. I was aware of how many issues I carried with me from childhood and my teenage years. And at that time, the idea, because I started practicing this very rigorous style of yoga called Ashtanga yoga, the idea, funny enough, was to be Jenny's assistant. not only I was aware of how fucked up I was, but I also was aware that, I don't know, becoming a teacher of something such as yoga, that would take a whole lifetime. And somehow I always saw Jenny with more, she was older, she had deeper emotional awareness than I did, at least more access to it through words. She was in a different way related to her body. I had more of the fire and the reactivity and the agility of a hunter. Think about it, yeah, as a football player. But she, as a dancer, had more subtlety in her body, and she was already used to working with her body and her breath and her energy field in a transformational fashion. So my intention was to be Batman's Robin for a few years, learn the body, learn the breath, learn people in a way. I came from living in quite a secluded environment where everybody was very similar to each other, and with yoga I could access different people, different walks of life, different nationalities, different stories. So that was my plan. Let Jenny be the great teacher that she is, and I would assist her from the shadows, be her second on board, and use the next decade to develop, if I wanted to be a teacher, and if that was so, to develop the skills. I had already been practicing yoga by the time that Yomi was born for, let's say, 8 to 10 years in different degrees. Maybe 8. The first 2 were reading books about it. But then, life is funny. We were in India, and then from India we had gone to Thailand, following a path of teachers that was never fully satisfying. And then Jenny got pregnant. And when she got pregnant, she had a strong craving to return home. At that time, we were flirting with the idea of settling in the East. I was in Thailand, very interested to study free diving and maybe eventually combine it with pranayama and yoga. And the idea to become traveling teachers, especially within the Ashtanga yoga system, felt, at least as a lifestyle, as a quite a sexy idea, yeah? A team traveling the East, teaching workshops, and I could restfully live on Jenny's skills. But when she got pregnant, she got a strong craving to return to Sweden. Not craving, the desire for safety and the nurturing of a social and health system that she really trusted. Yeah? So when we came back and we burned out the last little money that we had from those separated for those traveling years, Jenny was not going to take a job right after giving birth. And as I looked at my possibilities, unskilled as I was, not speaking the language, I had 2 choices, or I saw I had 2 choices. That was my lecture. Either I walk around and I look for a job in restaurants and construction and whatnot, or I use this yoga thing that I have been doing for a number of years, really seriously for the last 4 or 5, and I somehow give it a go, give it a try to see if I can get a teaching job. And life was surprising, or necessity, or Yomi's karma, or whichever destiny keeps hiding from you. But the minute I began to knock on doors and ask for a job as a teacher, it turned out that all doors opened up, and I ended up within a couple of months having a full schedule, within half a year being utterly exhausted because I had more classes that I could handle, and surprising for me, within the circuit of the Stockholm yoga studios, quite successful. It was clearly a yes. I've had two different experiences with new adventures in life. Yeah, I suppose you have also. It's the ones that you knock on the door and the door is not a door, is a reinforced steel wall. And then the other times when you knock on the door and just as you knock it opens and it's easy. Yeah. So this was one of those. This was one of those where, almost against my own forecast, it was easy. It was successful. People appreciated me, and soon I got a name in Stockholm as a teacher that somehow took the practice seriously and was teaching meditation and was speaking about philosophy and was trying to dress the physical side of yoga with awareness of the inner life. The mind movements, the heart movements, the emotional movements, the energy movements. And looking back, I was very, very clumsy. And I was very insecure, and I was insecure for very good reasons. But somehow I felt the responsibility. I felt like, I don't know what I'm doing very well, but I want to give people the feeling that this is important and that this is wide-reaching, and that with this technology, sure, you can take care of your injuries and you can stay physically in good shape, in health, but that it goes way beyond that. Another thing that became kind of my signature was my anti-guru stand, which was motivated by a number of reasons. The first reason, the one I told you. I'm no guru. Like, not only I might be in opposition to the system itself, but me, myself, definitely, I don't have that structure, I don't have the knowledge, I have not traveled the journey long enough to be that figure for people, even if I liked the figure itself. The second reason is I have a long history of being your around-the-block punk rock anarchist, and I have enjoyed that very much. When you live your childhood with people trying to force you to do things again and again, if that somehow does not fully subjugate you, what it does is it makes your nose very clear, very clear. Sometimes I think my nose, you know how they feel? It feels like when you need to poo. Sorry for the image, but once you feel it, it's only one way. You can't hold it in, you know, it has to be. So I experience my nose that way. Sometimes it just comes inside, and it doesn't matter what the person, the situation are trying to force me to do. If it's a no inside, it has to be pooed. It will be a no. So that also made me a very poor candidate to establish a chain of command with people, which is what the guru model does. Yeah? And finally, I would say that the model itself is flawed. I think that there's so many angles to the truth that we really need to support each other to see all the colors that appear in the kaleidoscope. and all the shades and all the reflections. So my approach to teaching yoga has been more like, let's share the tools. This is what I'm doing. This is where I'm getting stuck. This is what is working. This really, really interests me, but I haven't yet done much over here. And give people the feeling that you can play with your own practice, that you can investigate, that you can use it as a tool for self-exploration that goes way beyond self-improvement. And we all need yoga at times to improve something. We all need to become a little more flexible. We all have moments that we are sick and we want to heal, that we have a stressful period and we need to find stability, peace, and centeredness. But beyond the improvement ability that yoga can give to your life, for me what really is interesting, what really moves me, is using it as a tool for self-exploration. So as a teacher, this was my 2 cents. Yeah? I was passionate about helping people feel that the practice was theirs, a tool that they develop, a friend that they establish intimacy with, and also creative, that you learn what you learn, but you play with what you learn and you make it yours and you expand it and you shake it and you test it and you flip it inside out and you challenge your teacher and you disagree with her and you cry with him or her, but at the same time the process is yours. It's not a practice that you need to do to keep someone else happy or proud of you. Is not a practice that somehow gives you 2 stars and 3 stars and 4 stars and 5 stars, and then the 6 stars you achieve enlightenment. Yeah, that's not what it's about. At least that's not the way I see it. So, kind of like the trademark of me teaching over the years became, this thing is deep. This thing is a very powerful technology that can help you explore body, mind, and heart. You have me, I'm here, but it's your journey. And let's see how I can support you. And bear in mind that there will be a day that maybe you need to support me. And the better I am at teaching you the tools that I'm using at the moment, when I have a bad day, when I have a hole in my life or in my practice, who knows? Who knows who you will find along the way that will give you a hand. When I was younger, I thought I wanted to sail the world. And I started studying to become a sailing boat captain. Yeah? So I did my tests and I passed all the theorics, and then it turns out I realized on the first few days of practice that I didn't like it. It made me seasick, I didn't like the smells, and there was a certain elitist vibe, at least in Spain at that time, around sailors and the harbor and the clubs, that it I don't know, it smelled of upper class in a moment that I was very committed to the working class. So anyway, at that time I decided that it wasn't for me. But on the first practice or the second practice, the teacher told us a beautiful story. Whether it was a true story or a fairy tale, it was very efficient. And the story was about a captain that had a crew, and he was very precious about his boat, so he didn't let anyone touch the boat. He didn't let anyone touch the steering wheel or the sails or musts. I'm butchering the the vocabulary. I'm sorry if any of you is a sailor. But anyway, so he was very protective and he did not let anyone touch the boat. And then he fell overboard. And when he fell overboard, no one in the boat knew how to turn the boat around to come rescue him, and he drowned. And that's the story. And that's a story I like very much. And if you add to all that I said, that my first interactions were with real life gurus were highly disappointing. Maybe it's because I did not connect with this Ashtanga yoga system. Maybe it's because my encounter with Mr. Patabi Joyce was interesting. And I did I did work on my ego and approach the man and kiss his feet, and I did bow to him, and I did, for the love of practice, try to see him as this amazing presence that would transform my life. But if you're going to turn the nose from a punk rocker into yeses, you have to be fucking amazing. And yeah, maybe I couldn't see it, but I did not see fucking amazing in that man, nor any of the other ones that represented him. And any other attempt to guruhood that I encountered through my life fell short. And I totally concede that that can be my personal experience. I'm sure there is incredible shifus and masters and gurus that all you feel is love in their presence. But that hasn't been my experience. So this decentralized, let's say that way, approach to teaching became my style. Oh, we have someone whistling in the back. That should be a good background music for the moment. And then I moved to Portugal, and that just fitted perfectly with my teaching style, because down there, you know, I think by leaving behind other lives, and all of us in one way or another have decided that we have to look for our own direction, that we have to calibrate the compass according to what we feel and not what someone else feels, is something that we share in the little corner where we live in, yeah? So it really fitted perfectly. But I think something else happened during those years. I said no to writing books. I said no to doing videos. I said no to having a strong online presence and using the social media for selling. When I had a studio, it was very low key. When I had a retreat company, it was very low key. I said no to big number of students. I prefer always small groups. And I like all those choices. But maybe together with that, I also was resisting something. Or maybe it was not resisting. I remember giving continuously this answer to people when they would ask me to do audios or do videos or create more content. And I remember saying, maybe one day, but now I'm not ready. Maybe one day, but I'm not ready. And to be honest, I was content. I was content to refine the craft. I was content to teach many, many, many classes. I don't care if it was one person or 2 or 20, rarely 20. But I thought, as long as I get enough money to pay rent and buy food, as long as I feel that the quality of my craft inside the shala is satisfying to me, amazing. And that has been my MO when it comes to my vocation for the last 18 years. And then, one, two, let's say 4 or 5 years ago, I began to feel a shift. Maybe it was COVID. Maybe it was COVID that I felt a no inside that was forming with such clarity. And it was clear that regardless of the size of the opponent that was forcing me to do the crazy shit that they were trying to make us do, it was a no. And the no was echoing through every cavity of my inner body. And that made me become a little bit more outspoken. Some of you maybe don't remember or don't know me from then, but during those years, with as much respect as I could and trying not to add to the division that we were all experiencing, I had to speak up. So I wrote and I came out of my little closet with a few videos, a few posts, and I don't know, that somehow unlocked this next section of my practice. And I began to feel that from the no guru perspective, I was encountering the desire to offer people a bit more of a continuation from class to class. I toyed with different ideas, both alone and with Jenny. We recorded a few conversations, we wrote different posts, I tried to become more vocal in this or that direction. But I think it's been only last year when I decided to open up Awakening from the Heart, and I started to envision this channel, very important, even if it's just for 60 people at the moment, and thinking in doing these audios and maybe eventually a podcast, and allowing that desire that I always have to create beauty. I have a container that I began to feel that my life as a teacher was approaching its own adulthood. And it's not because I have conclusions, it's not because I have arrived anywhere, it's not because I know a lot of shit, it's not because I dwell in eternal peace of mind, but because after I have spent the last 18 years teaching as a product of different kinds of failures, at this point, I am committed. This is my life. This is what I'm doing. I am exploring my inner world, and I'm sharing the result, the difficulties, the struggles, and the successes of my exploration with whoever wants to share with me that journey. And I'm enjoying it very much. And I'm enjoying very much to approach this moment when I'm going to share with you a little bit of me. And I'm loving coming to my Wednesday practice. And I'm loving to design my new workshops. And I will love this year to host retreats. And I wouldn't be able to explain exactly what's the difference. I have enjoyed this for the last 18 years in different ways, but I have always enjoyed my job. But I'm coming to a point that my Shiatsu one-on-ones, my breath practice one-on-ones, my group classes my audio sharings, and mainly the interactions with you are so fucking rewarding that I'm starting to really, really, really enjoy what I do. I always liked it, but I remember having explained people like, I'm not a rock star, which is what I wanted to be besides a football player when I was a kid. I'm not a football player, but I like it. It's okay. I can't complain. And I don't know how that liking it moderately has turned into a love story, which is what I feel now. I love practicing yoga, practicing meditation, practicing breath, practicing shiatsu. And I love to share it all with you, all of it. I can see, if I would have to explain it from scratch to someone, I can see two main reasons why it's so rewarding. The first one is completely selfish. This is what I like to do, really, is what I want to do. So if somehow being a teacher, working as a therapist allows me that my life revolves around these matters, that my encounters with people will be in depth, that the sharings that we have will be about transcending our traumas and opening to the cosmic consciousness. And at the same time, I get enough money to live out of it. I mean, that's a dream. It's a dream. Then, an altruistic reason. It really is beautiful to give. Most of the happiness that you experience in life is not in the moments that you get, but in the moments that you give, in the moments that you share, in the moments that you see that something you did caused a smile on someone, or a tear that was falling out of someone's eye fell on top of the right flower, so she was watered with it. It's really beautiful. And I think we mentioned the other day in class, life is such a struggle. Human life is such a struggle. I struggle all the time. I laugh all the time, but I struggle all the time. So if you see someone in struggle and you can do something, if you see someone going through confusion or hardship or sadness, or just someone young that is discovering themselves and is looking for different directions, and you can be of service, how beautiful. Really, it's something that I enjoy very much. But then in the last few years, I have discovered a third gift, and maybe the most important one as it's unfolding. By doing what I do, I meet so many people from all walks of life. I meet not just men and women, young and old, but so many different nationalities. Maybe that is a particularity to do it in a holiday destination, yeah? In the city, when I was living in Stockholm and teaching in Stockholm, there was variety, but everybody was Swedish, yeah? At least you have the same nationality, the same city. But the minute you move into an international destination, this across layers ability that yoga has to bring people together then also becomes nationalities, it becomes cultures, it becomes upbringings. And what is happening is that I'm becoming a vortex or one of the knots of a spider web. You see all the silk threads and then they tie in a knot. So people with my profession, and I wouldn't say just me, or just a yoga teacher or just a therapist, but think where we live, everybody who has a guest house, everybody who has a restaurant, everybody who has a surf school, or whatever it is, any of the businesses that we do that is based on receiving people, living with them, caring for them, working with them, and then saying goodbye to them is giving us an education on, on life, on the different perspectives that humanity can have. And as I approach the second half of my life, I'm being very optimistic now, probably is the third part of my life, you see, I realize that we have such long accumulated karma of trauma stored in our generational lines that by getting so many inputs, so many stories, so many perspectives on how each one of us is dealing with the struggle, it's like I'm in school every day. I'm learning so much all the time. I'm learning, okay, about how it feels to be an orphan, about how it feels to be divorced, about how it feels to lose a child, about how it feels to be rich, about how it feels to be sick, about how it feels to lose people that you love, about how it feels to be near death. I haven't experienced any of those things yet. I have experienced many others. But these ones, I know how it feels. I know how it feels to be a doctor and care for people so much and not have any time or any resources at your hands because you are on the run and you feel like you took the most beautiful profession in the world, but you cannot do the way you would like to do it. You see, I know how that feels. I've been in close contact with many doctors. I know how it feels to work your business all the way to the top. And then when you are there, you and your partner are completely strange and don't know each other anymore. And you wish you had a little less, but you had a little more proximity with your spouse. And I know how it is to fall victim to cancer and see only black ahead of you and fucking fight and fucking win and step to the other side, and instead of with arrogance arrive to the other side with extreme humility. You see, that has not happened to me, but I've seen it. So many stories. So what I feel that my role is becoming more and more is to maintain that place, to maintain the stability in that connective space, like a crossroad between paths, and somehow through the experience that I get from all of you, be of service, be useful, be kind, be elastic, to let go of what I know because I know nothing, and learn again. And I've been stubborn, and I've stayed in my place, gazing in the same direction for a long time, and I've been able to struggle, and I've been able to pass through hardship without selling myself or whatever it is that I thought selling myself was, even if it was just a construct of my imagination, yeah? And I've done all those things, and I keep my practice, and I keep it real, and God knows I spend hours on this shit. Every time that I'm not doing something practical, I'm contemplating, I'm breathing, I'm aware of my posture, this is my life. But I owe this to you. During these 18 years, in one way or another, even if you don't know it, you've been my teacher, all of you. And I always say thanks, and I always mean it. I really, really do. I'm a grateful man. I have many flaws and many mistakes, but I do feel gratitude every fucking day of my life. And a big portion of it is to you. Without you, I'm just a crazy person saying things to the sky. With you, I make a little sense. So thank you very much, my friends, for being there. And like I said, as my teaching practice arrives its adulthood, nothing is changing. I'm the same monkey, but I am committed, and I'm showing up in the little way that I can today at the airport. Jet lagged already, even though it's an inner Europe flight. I feel very grateful for you. I'm gonna leave it here because I'm hungry and because I need to pee and because it's enough. Yeah, you've heard enough. I hope the sound is doable, and I know these are called audios and I should do a practice audio. But first I have to think about how this practice related to what I just told you will look like, and also this sound environment is not auspicious for, yes, it is for practice, but not for recording an audio about practice. So I'll try to find a little moment this weekend to record a practice audio for meditation for you. Be well. We see each other when we see each other. And those of you who live down there, we know when that is. It will be 5th of March. And if by any chance anyone from Stockholm is listening to this, not this weekend, so not tomorrow, but the weekend after, with Jenny, we are hosting a workshop which will be like this. Open heart, no bullshit, fully acknowledging that we don't know anything really. We know we struggle together, and we know that sharing the burden feels way better. So we'll be there. Big hug, my friend. I send you my love.